If I had to start cycling from scratch today, here's what I'd do. Hey guys, it's Lewis from Recycled Bicycle Sales here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about all the different things that I would do if all of my cycling knowledge was completely stripped and I had to start all the way from scratch again. We're going to talk about the different gear that you might need to get into cycling, maybe how to ride a bike properly, or even just some goal setting things that we can do. Let's dive straight into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is bike gear. And I think we're going to start by talking about the bike. When we're talking about cycling, at least the type of cycling that I'm talking about here in this video is like the proper road cycling, you know, the drop down racing sort of handlebars. I think to be able to get into the market for a good quality carbon fiber frame with sort of entry level componentry right the way through it, you want to budget for around about $1,000 to $1,500, thereabouts. I know, yes, you can get bikes for cheaper than that, but I think to get a nice, good quality bike that you're going to really enjoy, I reckon you want to be around about $1,000 to $1,500, somewhere around there. Some of the things that I'd be looking for in a beginner road bike might be a carbon fiber frame, perhaps aluminium wheels, and if you can, get Shimano or SRAM gears on it. They're the two biggest brands in the drivetrain and the componentry, so you can trust that they're made well and good quality. If you're lucky enough to be walking in here to Recycled Bicycle Sales, you can trust that all our bikes are safe, serviced, and not stolen. However, if you're buying a bike just off of Facebook Marketplace or whatever it is, it might be worth budgeting in a little service once you've purchased it so that a professional bike mechanic can check it over and make sure that it's nice and ready to go for you. First thing you should look to buy after purchasing a bicycle is a helmet. A helmet could possibly be the one thing that's going to save you in the event of a crash. I think you can't put a price on safety. Definitely go and buy a helmet first. In regards to helmets, there's a few different levels of safety that we can go for. You've got the sort of top end stuff, which is this stuff that they call MIPS technology, or you can work your way down to your standard sort of polycomposite material helmets. I'd say helmets range anywhere from probably $60 up to probably $600, I'm sure. There's quite a range there. If you want a more in-depth video about how to find the right sort of helmet, we've got one further back on our YouTube channel. It was a very well received video actually as well, so you might learn a couple of things there. So I'd be wanting to budget around about $150 for a good quality helmet. The next thing that I'd be looking to buy is some clothing, some apparel. I know that you've already got plenty of clothes in your closet, but there is a bit of a difference with all this cycling clothing. For example, the Lycra, the clothes that you're wearing on the top half, the shirt, is a bit more of a tight fitting shirt, and you've got pockets around the back, because in the padded shorts, in the pants, which are like a bib short that come up over your shoulder, they're a very tight fitting pant that don't have any pockets in them because they're designed to be aerodynamic and all this fun sort of stuff, but they've also got a chamois, as in, and by a chamois I mean like the padded short part, because you're sitting on that tiny little seat, you might be sitting on it for a few hours, so having a little bit of foam in there is going to make it a little bit more comfortable, especially when you're just getting into it. So find something that you reckon looks cool, matches your bike, get some cycling apparel. You can buy a pair of padded shorts for about $150. You probably don't even need to spend quite that much money, but a good quality set might be about $150. And the shirts, anywhere from $100 up. The next thing might not necessarily be a day one thing, but it might be something that you want to eventually move across to as you get a bit more confident on the bike. And that is clip-in pedals and shoes. I say that it might not be a day one thing because when you start riding a road bike, out on the road with the cars, with potholes, with traffic lights, with all these things that you're trying to learn, gears, brakes, all this sort of stuff, learning clip-in pedals on day one might be a little bit daunting, but I do think that eventually, once you're more used to the bike, you definitely will want to move across to the clip-in pedals because it's going to give you so much more control over the bike. If you want a more in-depth video about how to transition from flat pedals across to clip-in pedals, we did a video further back on our channel. It was also quite well received, I think. So jump across there and you might learn how to move across in the safest way possible. And if you click subscribe, you'll see that next week's video is everything you need to know about pedals and what you should buy. Next up, bottle cages. Bottle cages are just simply water bottle holders that can sit onto your bike and can allow you to hold the water bottle, obviously. Of course, that's what they do. Most bikes will let you carry up to 2 water bottle cages. Sometimes if you've got these fancy gravel bikes, they might let you carry more, but usually up to 2. If you're going for quite a long bike ride, water is incredibly important for our human bodies, so you might want to carry 2. If you're just scrolling down to the shops, you might only need 1. Water bottle cages start from maybe $10 and there's not much need to spend any more than like $20. The next thing is an emergency repair kit. These emergency repair kits usually come in the form of a saddle bag, which can mount on underneath the saddle and you can put it on your bike, forget it's there until the day that you need it. Some of the common things that you'd see in there are a repair kit to repair a punctured tube or perhaps even just like a multi-tool to make little adjustments on your bike while you're riding. You know, the gears aren't working properly, or you've got to take the wheel out or something like that. A different emergency repair kit. And you can fit so many different things into the saddlebag here. But I won't go into it too in depth in this video because we've done another one further back on our YouTube channel talking about all the different things you can fit into your saddlebag. Cool, so you bought your new bike, you bought all your gear, and now you're ready to start learning some of these crucial skills. I recommend coming outside into a nice big car park on like a Sunday afternoon when there's not too many cars here, or the local tennis court or something like that. Somewhere that you've got a bit of space that you don't have to worry about cars being everywhere. So I want to show you a couple of crucial skills that I recommend learning as a beginner cyclist. The first one that I recommend is just simply learning how to take off. I know that that sounds quite simple and straightforward, but it can feel a little bit different when we've got our road bike handlebars. Just simply taking off at the traffic light, finding your balance, and then getting your other foot on there. That might be a good one to practice. If you're riding a bike and you feel like it might be a little bit too big for you, a tip that I've learned, and I like to teach all the different people that buy bikes here, is instead of trying to take off sitting on the seat like this and then pushing off, it might be a little bit easier if you stand forward, because then if you're a little bit shorter, and push off, find your balance, and then get onto the seat like that. Now that you've learned how to take off, it's good to learn how to come to a stop as well. We're talking about using your brakes and your balance to come to a nice safe stop. You've got two brakes. You've got a rear brake and a front brake. We're kind of going to learn how to balance the two of them to come to a stop and then put a foot down on the floor to then dismount the bike. I'll show you what I mean. So coming to a stop, I'm using a bit of both brakes and I just put one foot down and I'm sort of leaning the bike across a little bit rather than trying to keep it upright. I'm just leaning across to the side that I've got that leg down, whether it's left foot or right foot. You just want to put one foot down. Notice there how I didn't grab the brakes and try and do a skid when I came to the stop. I just slowly applied a little bit more pressure to the point where I eventually came to a stop. If you know how to drive a car, it's very similar to that. You just modulate the brake a little bit. While we're out here in the car park, let's start learning how the gears work as well. The gears are usually these little buttons that we have here. Sometimes if it's a Shimano, you might have two buttons. If it's a SRAM, you might only have one. Hopefully you can learn sort of how they work. It's a little bit different for a couple of different bikes. But while we're out here in the car park and we've got a bit of space with no cars and it's nice and safe, now would be a good chance to try these different gears. What the gears do is they change how much effort you need to put in per rotation of the pedal. So if you're going really fast down a hill, you're doing 50 kilometers per hour, pedaling really fast, you might need a really hard gear to be able to keep pedaling. But then if you're going back up that same hill and you're doing 5 kilometers per hour, you need a different gear for that. So hopefully your bike has quite a large gear ratio and you're able to use lots of different gears. Now's a good chance to test them all out. A little top tip I'm gonna say here with the gears is your right hand usually controls the rear gears, which you'll change 50 times in a bike ride, and your left hand will usually change the front gears, which you might only change once every 5 rides. The front gears make a really big difference. It's uphill versus downhill, whereas the rear gears might adjust small amounts of speed between different hills. So with that being the case, the rear gears, if we have a very quick look, we can see that on all of these different cogs here are the different gears. On the rear gears, which is your right hand, we go from a gear that's this big, to this big, to this big, to this big, whereas at the front, we go from a gear that's that big, all the way up to that big. So your left hand, the front derailleur, you usually have to press quite a bit harder. So if you're pedaling around the car park right now and you're thinking, oh man, the left hand's so hard, correct. The left hand is a little bit harder than the right hand. So a little exercise that I recommend here is pedaling up and down the street, trying all of the gears, going all the way up one way, all the way back down the other way in both chain rings as well. And you'll start to feel a difference in those sort of pedal strokes, that gear ratio. And you'll learn what feels good pretty quickly. Another skill that I think you need to practice is learning how to control the bike and how to steer. One way that I like to practice this is by doing figure eights at a really slow speed. When you're doing slow speed maneuvers, they translate really well across to doing your high speed maneuvers. So when you're riding down and you're coming to a roundabout and you've got a zigzag, it's good because you've learnt that skill set at a slow speed. I'll show you what I mean by doing these figure eights. Literally riding along one way and just coming around and then turning back the other way and getting all the way back around there. And literally just doing this until you get dizzy. You can start big and then slowly become a little bit tighter. And one trick that I always like to do, if I grab a couple of little rocks here or traffic cones if you happen to have them, you know, put one there and maybe like one there, and I'm gonna try and circle around them and eventually get a little bit closer. I'm trying to, oof, You almost got to see me crash there, but not quite. I don't know if I'm gonna get much tighter than that actually, but this is a good skill to practice a little bit, I think. If you liked these tips and want to learn a couple more top tips, we've done actually quite a few videos further back on our YouTube channel. I think one of them might be our most viewed video further back actually. So there are a couple of really well received videos with lots of different tips for while you're cycling. The third thing that I recommend you do as a beginner cyclist is to start learning some mechanical knowledge. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens in cycling is that you might get a flat tire and there might not be a bike shop just up the road when you get the flat tire. So you'll need to know how to repair it. We've actually done a video further back on our YouTube channel about how to repair a flat tire or how to replace a flat tire or whatever we called it. But that would be a really good video to watch. I think it's also good to know how to wash your bike. Again, conveniently enough, we uploaded a video last week or a couple of weeks ago about how to wash your bike, so that might be a cool one. And while you're on that same topic of washing the bike, it might be a good one to learn how to clean your drivetrain. Cleaning your drivetrain and keeping it in a nice clean condition can help prolong the life of the whole drivetrain. When I'm saying drivetrain, I mean chain rings, cassette, the moving metal parts down there. They are also a consumable part, so you will eventually wear through them, but if you keep it clean, you can double, triple, quadruple the life of the parts. That's gonna save you a lot of money. I know that I just mentioned 3 different things that I think you should learn there, but if you check out our YouTube channel and click subscribe, please and thank you, you'll see that we have well over 80 videos talking about different things that you can do with your bike and different maintenance things and repairs and all this sort of stuff. So without sounding too cocky, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed, and I think there's a lot that you can learn to do with your bike. Step number 4 is to just go for a ride. I recommend that your first ride, or maybe even couple of rides, is somewhere flat, whether it's down to the beach or around the city or something like that. I think going up into the hills can be a little bit difficult if you're just getting into cycling. Learning how to sit on the bike and how to pedal efficiently and this sort of thing. I think starting on the flat is a great spot to start. As a quick disclaimer here, I'm just gonna say, don't just suddenly surprise your body with a 100-kilometer bike ride. 100 Ks can be pretty difficult for somebody who hasn't done cycling before. It might help if you used to be a runner or something along those lines, but cycling is kind of its own sport, so it might take a couple of bike rides before you start to really get used to it. So, set a nice big goal, have lots of fun, but all I'm saying is overspend yourself on the first bike ride. And as you start to progress and get more comfortable on the bike and even fitter, you can roll into step number 5, which is joining a group ride. Whether you live here in Adelaide, you can join us on Sunday mornings out the front of the shop here and I'll take you for a bike ride and I'll buy you a coffee at the end. Or if you're not in Adelaide, maybe there's another local group that you're able to join up with. There's probably different groups as well. If you're entry level, there might be some that are other entry level people that are joining in, maybe first time using clip-in pedals or first time riding in a group and this sort of thing. Or if you're feeling a little bit more advanced, maybe there's some more advanced groups that you can look into. You can join some Facebook groups or some Strava groups to help meet people that are at the same level as you. And step number 6 is to set a goal for yourself. Whether you're gonna use Strava to help you set this goal or whatever it is you're gonna do, maybe the goal is that you want to ride 100 kilometers in a single bike ride, or maybe it's that you want to get all the way up to, here in Adelaide, we've got Mount Lofty Summit, or maybe you want to get up into Mount Lofty Summit faster than you did before. Whatever your goal is, if you can set a goal, that means you've got something that you're working towards. I don't know about you, but if I've got something I'm working towards, that gives me so much more energy and motivation to get out of bed in the morning. But that's just me. To help you work towards this goal, just enjoy spending time on your bike. Remember, it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to wake up and be like, hell yeah, I get to go for a ride, not, oh, I have to go on my training program again. So just make sure it's still fun. And as you keep riding, your skill level and your fitness will slowly just increase, even without necessarily trying, just by simply doing it, so that you can go further and faster. And the trick here is consistency is key. This will help you progress into going with faster groups and maybe going up steeper hills. And if you think that you're ready to start talking about racing, we've got a video further back on our YouTube channel talking about how to transition from casual riding across to racing. That might be one that you might like to watch too. And a top tip that I've got is to track your progression, but don't obsess over it. By that, I mean, there's an app that I love to use called Strava. It's kind of like Facebook for athletes in a sense. And it will tell you all the progression and all the different rides and activities that you've done. It's pretty cool seeing your own data, but just remember, it's supposed to be fun. Don't become a slave to having to hit the numbers. And the toppest of tips is to celebrate the small wins. By that, I mean, if you're riding up the hill and you went up faster this time than you did last time, that's worth celebrating. You gotta post that on Instagram or Strava. That could be one example of a small win. Maybe you've gone for a really long bike ride and it's the first time you've hit 3 digits in a bike ride. You've hit over 100 kilometers in a bike ride. Well done you, that deserves an Instagram post. Make sure you celebrate the small wins. And the final step is to try different disciplines of cycling. Maybe you've bought yourself a racing road bike and it's lots of fun and you've been riding heaps and now you want to try out something different. Mountain biking is pretty fun. So is gravel, so is bike packing. There's so many different types of cycling you can try. So that's why you will find that people often have more than one bike in their shed. That's the beauty of cycling. There's so many different disciplines and categories and subcategories within cycling. We're talking about road bikes here in today's video. If you perhaps live overseas, maybe you live in Whistler in Canada and you're riding a road bike, you're probably one of the few people that is riding a road bike in Whistler, Canada. You should be on a mountain bike. You should give that a try. If you're in Adelaide, which is where we are here in South Australia, and the Tour Down Under is starting, I think it might have just started actually, everybody, I literally mean everybody is a cyclist for that week of the year. People literally sell their car so they can ride their bike that week of the year. So you've got to have a road bike during the Tour Down Under here in Adelaide. It helps to improve your enjoyment if you've got a riding buddy. Maybe you both walked into Recycled Bicycle Sales and both bought a bike at the same time and now you're both learning at the same speed. That can make cycling that little bit more fun. It's a little bit like having a golf buddy. You're both watching each other learn and crash and get stuck in the sand bunker. Thanks for watching everybody and congratulations on your new bike. If you reckon that there's anything that we've missed or maybe something that the salesperson told you that you should buy when you buy a bike, let us know in the comment section below. I love hearing all of that stuff. Otherwise, I'm gonna say thanks for watching. I'll see you out on the roads. Bye.